Now let's go over some of the faces options. For that, I'm going to erase these two. I'm going to add another edit poly. And on my faces options, I have a very common one, which is inset. You have it in other softwares. It's basically an extrude and scale down. Here I have the settings, and then I already add an inset, and it's all down. And I can do it, for example, let's say I select these faces. Right now it's by group, so it insets everything by group, but I can tell it to do it by polygon. Then I can select them again and extrude them in. And then I have somehow windows. I also have the bevel options. That's basically a combination of extrude and scale. I'm going to tell it to do it by the local normals or by the polygons right now. Extrude, I have been showing it quite often. It's just basically what you know as extruding. You can do it the same way by group, by polygon. In a square, in a cube, you don't see much the difference. It's mostly in curves where the normals actually matter more. Now I have this option that is extrude along a curve or a spline. I'm going to activate this curve. I'm going to select this face, and extrude along a spline allows me to pick the curve, and it's going to extrude along that curve. And I can also alter this a little bit, rotate it, tell it to have more subdivisions. This could be quite interesting to make interesting structures of buildings or tentacles of an animal, because it saves you some steps. Now another option is, let's say I select my whole object and I copy it, clone to element, because if I clone to object, then it's going to create another object. I'm just going to do it to show you, okay? Right now, it's a different object. So I'm going to go back, erase this, and select my object and shift, move, clone to element. Then it's actually in the same object. Okay, and now I did this because I wanted to create some bridges between the faces. Just select the faces and create a bridge. I can also add more or less rotation, variations. If I select many faces and apply bridge, it's not going to necessarily follow this order. It depends on the number that the face has. Okay, and as you see, right now it's taking the parameters that I already had in bridge. See, it changed it. So I would actually recommend to usually take one by one, and you have a much more control effect. Bridge is a tool that you can also use for edges. For example, if I have this face and this face is empty, I can take these edges and bridge them. It creates a bunch of more segments, so of course better to do it with the settings. But what it does here, now I have two vertices. It usually happens that it's separated. So just to make sure, I'm going to use another option that is called weld. So I select all of these vertices, and I'm going to weld. I'm going to close here soft selection to have a better view, and I'm going to weld them. What it does is merge, but it's not merging to center or merging somewhere. I can tell it to merge it within a threshold. So this is a pretty small threshold. You see what happens if I increase it. Okay, so I'm going to leave it in a very small threshold. And that already makes me, I I can make sure that two vertices, one on top of the other, are going to be merged.